In this episode I'm going to complete the weathering, or at least the majority of it. Stay tuned. Hello fellas! The first step of this second weathering stage is going to be weathering with oils, and I will use mixed oil brushers for this. I will start with some Starship Field in areas where some dust would accumulate over time. In my opinion, this color is very suitable for the glossy blue. Like many others, I like using oils for weathering because they are very easy to work with. They are rather forgiving and allow you to manipulate them for extended periods of time. Of course, there are drawbacks, namely that they tend to dry forever and you should leave them alone to do so, otherwise they can be easily wiped off. Most of the tools and materials I use you can find linked in the description. Now, allow me to tell you about my Patreon page. If you choose to support the channel on Patreon for only $1 a month, you will get early access to my videos and you can watch them ads free. Also, I post updates of my current builds every other day. Furthermore, you can have high resolution wallpapers with the finished models. And on top of that, you will get a discount for my merchandise. Once again, for only $1 a month. The link of my Patreon page is in the description. For the areas where mechanics remove panels so they can work on the oily bits, I will use Starship Bay Sludge. I will keep the weathering mostly on the panels adjacent to the previously mentioned because, well, presumably those are away when the work is being done and are cleaner. At least that's my logic. Don't hesitate to comment if you have something to add or disagree. And to give some more variation, I will add a bit of field over the sludge, but much tighter so I can get a soft transition and not completely cover the sludge. Next up comes a buff color for the tires. The application on the sidewalls is the same as before, with the exception that I will clean up the rim with some white spirit. For the contact surface, I used a Q-tip to rub the paint in and possibly to avoid filling up the threads. This worked to some extent and I will fix the rest with black wash. For the more congested areas, where weathering with oils would take too much time, I will employ a panel line wash with colors similar to the Starship field. And this is Deep Grey from MIC. The goal is again to simulate deposits of dust and dirt in various crevices and tight spots. And to be honest, I'm quite happy with how this wash transformed the previously clean areas. With these oil and wash steps out of the way, it is time to try something new for me and use various types of clear varnishes for weathering effects. For the initial overall layer, I went for Tamiya LP24 Semi-Gloss Clear with the addition of some LP23 Flat Clear that all diluted with Mr. Leveling Thinner. This step is hardly visible, so I won't show it here. Then, using only LP23, I started what should be some fading on the upper horizontal surfaces of the tailplanes, on the fuselage, above the line where the curvature starts to go towards the spine, a little bit on the tops of the wings in a mottled fashion, and on the underside of the foldable section of the wings. Finally, for a bit more bleached effect, I went for acrylic matte varnish from Lifecolor. I applied it only on the topmost surfaces of the fuselage, as well as on the underside of the tips of the wings. Here I would like to express my gratitude to the people supporting the channel on Patreon. Your support is very important and I hope you enjoy being a patron. I took advantage of the matte varnish and using a silver watercolor pencil, I highlighted the fasteners on those most removed panels. My guess is that those fasteners were the first to lose their paint. Moving on to the heat and exhaust stains. If you are interested in a tutorial, I happen to have one for you, and the link is going to pop up in your upper right corner, or you can find it in the description. What I did here is a bit simplified, with a base layer of flat black for the exhaust, the guns and the shell ejection ports. then a desert sand inside the block on the exhaust to simulate the residue from the lean burning conditions. And then a drop of brown in the desert sand to intensify the color in a few areas. Now onto the fuel stains. I wanted to buy appropriate effect, but there was none available locally, so I was forced to improvise. I mixed enamel wash for DAK vehicles with shaft and bearing grease effect to get a color that I see as appropriate, and then I applied it carefully using a brush. And with that, I think I have most of the weathering done. There might be a few touches here and there, but generally I call it done deal. If you have any suggestions or criticism, please leave a comment and leave a like if you like the video. Thank you for watching, and until next time, happy modeling!